Welcome to Sound Bites. I'm your host, Jennifer Chandler, and I'm here with Eric Mogi and Larry Gruner with the 33rd Annual ASBEE World Kosher BBQ Contest and Festival. Sound Bites is the Daily Memphian's weekly food, drink, and dining podcast. You can tune in on WYXR Radio every Thursday at 11 a.m. or listen wherever you get your podcast, iTunes or Spotify, or listen at dailymemphian.com. If you are listening on WYXR, up next you can listen to The Sidebar with Eric Barnes. But let's get started talking about this beloved barbecue contest. Thank you, Eric and Larry, for being here on Sound Bites to talk all things kosher barbecue.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so this event has been around for 33 years, but not 33 years in a row. You had a brief hiatus because of the COVID pandemic, that little thing that kind of went across the world here. When was the last time you hosted this event?
So the last time we had the event in full swing was 2019 at our old synagogue. And then, of course, there was a hiatus because of that pesky COVID situation. And then our congregation merged with the Baron Hirsch congregation, and we did a small starter welcoming event last year. But this is the first time we're back in full force with all the activities, all the teams, all the kids, all the wonderful opportunities for people to come and see.
So one of the things that I want to ask, because most people, when they think of Memphis barbecue, they think of pork. And pork is not kosher, correct?
Much to our discern.
So can you tell us a little bit? I'm assuming no pork is served at this barbecue contest?
So on a basic level, a kosher barbecue festival does not have pork, but kosher is much more encompassing beyond that. There's various rules that go into it. Rabbis and sages throughout the generations have crafted this to make sure, based on Torah law, as to what you can and can't have. You can't have mixing of milk and meat. There has to be supervision over the product itself to make sure that it's been handled in the proper way. And there's a variety of other things that go into it that I'm not learned enough to answer. So.
Larry, you were speaking to, before we started this podcast, a little bit about the history of this event and how it came to be. So how did the idea of a barbecue contest at a synagogue come about in the first place?
Well, it was because of Memphis in May having a contest that basically was on the Sabbath when Jewish people were praying and not able to attend or get downtown and so forth. The fact that it was a pork contest and Jewish people, Orthodox Jewish people, don't eat pork, that several guys from back, I think back in the 80s, were talking about what we can do to, have our own. And so they talked about forming their own contest, which I think the first year started with 10 teams. It was since grown. At second year, they had 12 teams and started bringing in celebrity judges like Big John Grisani, and he helped spare things on further from there. So it got going, and it's got, as the last one, I think in 2019, had as many as 50 teams that attended that contest from multiple cities. We also had, this thing grew over years, and we had people coming from Nashville, from even as far away as New York, and even Israel, Atlanta as well. And then they saw what we were doing and started having their own contests and so forth. So this is the oldest running kosher barbecue contest in the country.
What synagogue did it start at?
It started at Anshe Beth El Emeth congregation. It used to be located on Yates Road in East Memphis.
Okay, that's great. And that's what ASBEE stands for, correct?
Absolutely.
There, if you were ever wondering where it got its name, now we know. ASBEE is a lot shorter to say. And the same thing when you spell barbecue, I always laugh. No one spells it out anymore. It's always BBQ. Take the shortcut. But you guys haven't taken the shortcut when it comes to putting on this event, because this is a full-fledged barbecue contest in its full glory with multiple categories. So what are all the categories that people compete in?
So when it comes to food categories, teams compete in brisket, beef ribs, chicken wings, beans. In addition, there is categories for best team name, best booth. We have a pickle eating contest, which people can compete in. We have a 3-on-3 basketball tournament that people compete in. We create a lot of opportunities for people to come out, compete, show what they're made of, have a lot of fun across the spectrum.
And is this a one-day contest or 2 days? How does this kind of work?
Well, it kind of starts with on the Thursday before the contest. They have we have sort of where they come and pick out all the supplies are supplied by the synagogue, so they don't have to go out and buy anything. The grills, the smokers, everything is supplied by the utensils are all supplied by the synagogue.
Really, that's pretty amazing, because when you think about Memphis in May's World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest, that's a thing that people have to load in and bring all of their rigs and their smokers and grills and all of the equipment, and not having to do that.
That's right.
It's really appealing.
Because it is a contest that literally is a one-day contest, but setting it up and getting everything ready, it'll start mainly on Thursday. The teams will come in, they'll pick out their meats that they're going to use. They will prepare them then, and some will wait till Saturday after the Sabbath and maybe start even cook. You can start cooking it as early as, Saturday night. But the contest will open up and start running on Sunday.
That's great. And so when you talk about you providing the meats and things, that's something, again, that's very unique to a barbecue cooking contest. Not many places do that. And can you kind of explain some of why the reason you do that?
Well, it goes back into the kosher aspect again. In order to make sure that our contest is 100% kosher, we provide everything. So we provide the meat, we provide, as Larry said, the utensils, the grills, the works. That way, it is beyond reproach if anyone ever questions if there's any issues with it being kosher. We have our rabbis who kind of keep an eye on things both Thursday night, Saturday night, Sunday throughout the day, just to make sure no one's bringing in anything inappropriate. But the benefit of that is it's so much easier for the teams, because as you said, for Memphis in May, they have all this equipment they have to bring down to Tomley Park or to the Tiger Lane now. And it's such a hassle to bring all that. We take the hassle out of it to make it a more enjoyable experience.
And I'm assuming too, I think I was reading something on your press release when it comes to things like spices and seasonings and anything that they might be using to add their signature touch to their brisket per se. All of that has to be kosher certified as well.
Absolutely.
And it is all provided. It was tables and tables full of spices and other assorted items that they will be using to take care of their meats and so forth that they're going to use.
So when it gets to the teams, how many teams are competing this year? I know it's probably a little less since it's the first time back.
32 teams have signed up, and we've cut it off there. It is...
that's not that much less than it's heyday.
No, we hope it'll grow back to where it was, and we feel it will, and so forth, because I think we even got more room and so forth to grow with. So
right, because it's in a new location this year, right?
Yes. So so my old synagogue, ASBEE, after COVID merged with the new synagogue, Baron Hirsch, and so now the ASBEE Kosher Barbecue is at Baron Hirsch.
And so is there more space there in the parking lots and such than there was at the other location?
Well, we had a pretty big parking lot before at ASBEE. I mean, we were able to put 50 teams plus a basketball tournament plus even a petting zoo at the old one. I think the new location has a little bit more space. So maybe we'll get 70 teams next year. We'll see. And
so your competitors, are a lot of the members of the congregation, or are they people who just love barbecue? Who's competing in this?
Well, you have an assortment of members of the synagogues. You have the different Jewish organizations around town that will also be sponsoring teams and so forth. So it's sort of an assortment of the Jewish community, Jewish businesses, and Jewish organizations around town that will be competing in this. And then some outsiders from that, other than that just like the barbecue aspect itself.
Yeah, well, it is open for anybody and everyone who wants to compete. I even know of at least one or two groups, teams this year that have associations with the regular Memphis in May Barbecue Festival, and they're excited to come and check it out. Are there any other special rules that the pitmasters have to follow that they wouldn't necessarily have at Memphis in May, at that contest that most Memphians are familiar with? Are the rules pretty much similar, other than the fact that everything has to be, all the ingredients and the cooking utensils have to be kosher certified?
Well, not really any different. This, again, not being able to bring anything from outside, using just what you have in front of you, makes every team sort of on an equal basis. There's certainly you have your own recipes and so forth that you like to cook, but for the most part, everybody's going to be cooking on an even basis because they got the same smokers, the same grills, and so forth, and the same allotted time to use to make the product. So it's a pretty even contest.
That's great. And speaking of being a contest, I know we talked about all the different categories that people can compete in. Is there do many people compete in just like one of the categories or multiple categories? Is there such thing as, like a grand champion?
Absolutely. So we have people compete in all categories. They can compete as many or as little as they want. We have a special championship award just for team booth and design. That's we're unveiling this year is the Ira Weinstein Grand Showman Award. And then we have our overall winner, the best of everything, the best of all food scores, the best of Grand Showman. That's our Donna Reisman Grand Championship Trophy in honor of Donna Reisman, who was a vital member of the ASBEE congregation. She just loved the barbecue, her and her husband, Harvey, and we named that after her. And similarly, Ira Weinstein was also a beloved member as well. So we also like to try to make sure that we're honoring those who came before us as well.
And one of the things that I'm excited about this event is there's things to eat. It's not just watching people cook, correct?
Correct. There's actually what we call the Kosher Cafe that will be serving up barbecue brisket, barbecue chicken, hamburgers, hot dogs, so forth. So there'll be plenty of food for people to come in and enjoy, even if you're not part of a team and so forth. So there'll be a lot of food out there.
Is there anything that you have as a favorite that they're going to be serving that you would recommend? Or just all of it?
I'm a beef brisket fan, so anytime you can have a good barbecue beef brisket in this town, you certainly want to try it.
I know. I kind of agree with you because people think of Memphis barbecue. Again, we think about pork, but brisket is such a great item, and most people think about it as Texas, but there are some really good places. There's some really good beef brisket you can find here in Memphis.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do I dare ask some of your favorites?
Well, I would hurt too many feelings if I probably started naming them.
I know. I was like, do I mention the places I like to get it at or not? But I will tell you, I don't think I've ever had a bad beef brisket in any of the barbecue restaurants in Memphis. I will say that. And then it's funny that they're all slightly different. It's very interesting to me that you can start with one thing and you can call it the same thing, but it can be so many different things.
That's
that
right.
makes sense at all.
Right.
You know you're a Memphian if you like to argue with your friends over who has the best barbecue in Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really, really hard when I did a story years ago and that people said about what is the best barbecue sandwich in town. And I was like, they're all different. I love them all for different reasons. And it just depends on what I'm hungry for. So when it comes to brisket, it's the same way. So I'd be curious. I'd be kind of excited to come to this event so I could kind of get some tips on cooking brisket because I enjoy it so much.
Oh, well, yeah. You'd be coming to the right place then.
You're listening to the Daily Memphian Soundbites with me, Jennifer Chandler. Today we're talking with Eric Mogi and Larry Gruner with the 33rd Annual ASBEE World Kosher BBQ Contest and Festival, which is happening this weekend. If you're tuning in on WYXR, keep listening for the Sidebar with Eric Barnes after this. If you're listening through your podcast app, be sure to subscribe. You can also find our other Daily Memphian podcasts, The Sidebar with Eric Barnes about art, culture, and more, Grizzly Pod with Drew Hill and Chris Harrington, Behind the Headlines Podcast Edition, and On the Record, an occasional political podcast with Daily Memphian legend Bill Dries. So let's continue talking about this ASBEE World Kosher Barbecue Cooking Contest. Are you the largest kosher cooking contest? Or the first? Or probably one of the first?
We were the first. So before Anshe or ASBEE started it, there had not been any other kosher barbecue festival going on in the country. I believe we are currently the largest, although there have been a lot of other incarnations over the years. I've seen them in Atlanta. I know Palm Beach does one. I've seen it in Texas. So whether or not we're the largest, we're definitely the best in the original.
I love that. The best in the original, right here in our hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is judging. You have a lot of experience, Larry, with judging barbecue cooking contests, correct?
Correct. I have been since, I guess, about 1999, a certified judge at Memphis in May. Judged a lot of Memphis in May events. Then there was the forming of the Memphis Barbecue Network, which sponsors a lot of barbecue contests. I've judged many of those. KCBS certified, Kansas City Barbecue Society. and I've judged many of their contests as well. So I've had my share of barbecue.
I mean, you are, I think you can qualify to be a barbecue expert. So tell everybody who's listening what your role is.
My role has been trying to put together a judging cast that has included many of our what I call celebrities around town, including sports figures, news anchors, congressmen, mayors, and so forth and so on, of people throughout the community, along with several members of the two synagogues, ASBEE and Baron Hirsch as well. So we've got a good mixture. We got chefs, we've got barbecue restaurant owners involved, and so forth. So we got a great crew coming in for this contest.
That's great. Now, so do you train them on all of the rules and what they need to pay attention to as far as what they're doing?
Well, yeah, we will, because every contest has its own special scoring. Actually, we've had one of our team members, one of our committee members, come up with a app for scoring. So it's kind of unique. It's still in the process, but he'll have it finished up over the next week. But we will ask all the judges to download this app, and they will be judging using their phones or iPads, if they have those, and doing their scoring that way. That way it sort of cuts out having to have accountants and so forth trying to add up sheets and so forth like that. Probably something, since I've got some of the Memphis and May people involved, they may be interested in seeing how this works so that they can implement it into their contests.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it should be.
I mean, state of the art. Cooking over fire has been around for generations and decades and years and centuries, and now we're going digital with it a little bit.
That's right. Even the cavemen were our first barbecuers. So,
So can you talk a little bit about what makes a competition-winning brisket? Can you kind of describe what the judges should be looking for and what shouldn't be happening? I mean, is it fork tender? Is it off the bone? Is it, very seasoned? Is it not? What are
the way we will actually have this is the first thing that's going to happen, and it happens just about in every contest. The first thing that's going to be judged will be, once the boxes are set on the tables in front of the judges, we will ask them to open them up, look at them, and judge the appearance. All right. So the first thing is looking at them and making sure they appear to be something edible. After that, then they will take a sample of the product and they will judge the tenderness, and then we'll go on to flavor. And then we'll have the final score being the overall impression. An overall impression will only, we judge on a 10-point system, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, okay? So just like the Olympics, you're striving for, in every category, to be the 10. Except an overall impression, only one of the teams that are at that table can be your 10. And then we'll progress down to 9 and then to 8 and 7. This sort of adds a little separation between all of them. And as far as looking for something, we want to see smoke rings. We want to see that nice pink color on the inside when they break open a rib, or when they look at the brisket and so forth, when it comes to judging the beef products and so forth. When you get into wings, it's just more of a flavor, and make sure it's cooked. That's the main thing there.
Yeah, that's important on that one.
That's right. And me, I was, they used to call me King of the Beans. So I used to enter a bean competition and so forth, and had a good recipe for beans. So with that, it's just mainly texture and flavor.
One of the things, because I did do the certification for the Memphis and May barbecue judging a number of years back. And one of the things that I was kind of surprised about, because I normally think of when you want to eat like a pork rib, is that it is fall off the bone, tender. I mean, to me, that's what you want. And then when I went through the judging class, that's not what you want for world championship ribs.
No, that's what we call a mushy rib.
Exactly.
All right, we want it tender, but we don't want fall off the bone. We want it to still have its integrity. As I call it, when I pick up my rib after I've looked at it and so forth, I just kind of peel it off down the bone. I want it to stay together. That's the first thing I'm going to check, is to make sure that it has its integrity still there. So it doesn't mean that it's not the best tasting rib if it's mushy. It just means that for tenderness, it would get a poor score from meat. All right. Flavor may have the best flavor of all of them, because it really boils down to an overall impression, even at Memphis and May or Kansas City or any of them. What's the best barbecue I ate today? Yeah. So, that's where we're going to do a little separation at the end when we give the overall impression.
I've been overcooking my ribs and probably my brisket and everything for decades. I'm going to need to come and get some tips, because I do always cook it probably a little too much.
Well, we're compressed for time in that, theoretically a brisket needs 14, 15 hours to cook. So some will actually go on Thursday and boil them, to sort of help tenderize them and make them quicker to cook in the smokers and so forth, which is fine if that's what you prefer, but it also tends to get you where you get into that mushy kind of.
Yeah, where it's not quite the right consistency. Very interesting. So, and are there any teams to be watching for, or is there a defending champion this year, or not?
Well, I would say one team to look out for would be my team.
Okay.
No, I mean, listen, we get people who who are novices. We get people who are experts at it. People who just love to cook, and don't have, any competition experience at all. We want everyone to come out. We want everyone to compete. We want everyone to enjoy themselves. And hopefully they win a trophy through the process.
One thing that they always think this is a men's sport. But I got to tell you, many times at the ASBEE contest, that women organizations have won the contest as not only the best brisket, but the best, because it was always our grandmas and our mothers who made the best briskets and stuff.
That is true. That is true. So let's go back to one of the competitions that are happening, because this is open to the general public, that anyone who attends the pickle eating contest?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So we have a pickle eating contest. It is not a hard contest. It is not a complicated contest. We do by age groups, and you just show up and we put a pickle on a plate, and the first person to wolf it down is the winner of that category.
Oh, wow. So you only have to eat one pickle?
You only have to eat one. It's not like the hot dog championship.
Yeah. That sometimes makes me worried. I was envisioning having to eat a whole jar of pickles.
No.
And I'm assuming they're kosher dill pickles?
They are absolutely.
So they're the big ones, not the spears?
Correct.
Okay. So what is the fastest anyone's ever eaten them? Do you know?
I don't know if I know the answer to that.
Seems like I remember.
We're going to have to pay attention this year, because that might be an interesting. Maybe when we get on the podcast next year, we can have a challenge to see how fast we can eat a pickle.
That sounds fun to me. I think Larry could wolf one down.
Used to.
So tell us, what time do the events start? A little of the details about exactly where it is and when it starts, and is there a fee to get in? So anybody listening and they want to go after hearing our conversation, how they can find out where it is.
Absolutely. So it is Sunday, August 25th. It is at Baron Hirsch Synagogue, which is on Yates Road in Memphis, Tennessee. It's open to the public at 10 o'clock, and it goes till about 2 or 3 o'clock when winners are announced. There is no entry fee to get in. However, if you want to do certain events there, such as the kiddie area, we have a kid area that has petting zoo and face painting and things like that. You can buy tickets to participate. Again, if you want to go to the Sisterhood Cafe for the Kosher Cafe, you have to buy food there. If you want to do the 3-on-3 basketball tournament, which has been going on for 25 years by itself, I think there's a $25 per person fee, and we have very competitive people who play in that.
And so how did basketball end up with barbecue? Because you had to work off all the calories because you ate so much barbecue?
Well, that's a good point. No, I mean, again, listen, we're Memphians. We love basketball, okay? What Memphian doesn't grow up loving the Memphis Tigers and then the Grizzlies? And so one of our members 25 years ago thought, what a great addition they could make to it. And they started it, and it has different age categories itself, for young kids to teenagers to adults. And they go out in the court and they just ball, and they have a lot of fun and they compete. I know a lot of people wouldn't think that Jews playing basketball could be that competitive, but in the end, it is a very fun but competitive league.
And so, Eric, what categories are you competing in, since we know now you're the team to watch, and what's your team's name?
We're going to be in all of them, so we're in it to win it, so.
What's your team name?
Just Blow and Smoke.
Just Blow and Smoke. Okay. So everybody listening, make sure you go by to see the winning team when you're there. Anything else you'd want anyone to know about this event other than that it is one of the best barbecue contests in the city of Memphis?
I will say this, that because there will be well attended, be hundreds of people there, that parking comes at a minimum. So people who have mobility issues can be dropped off right at the synagogue. There's side streets all around and so forth, and the main streets of Shady Grove and Walnut Grove offer parking up and down the streets and so forth. So just be mindful that parking might be an issue to get there a little earlier and so forth. Those are probably the biggest problems we face, is just where we're going to put everybody. There's plenty of room for people to walk around and enjoy the festival. Also, you can come inside. The synagogue is absolutely beautiful. The sanctuary is gorgeous. So if anybody wants to tour or walk around the synagogues, also they may want to be cooling off a little bit or using the restrooms as well. So they're welcome to come inside.
I love that you guys do that. That's something that the Memphis Greek Festival does as well, as they offer tours. And I think that's really nice because it introduces people in the community that may not be familiar with you, familiar with Baron Hirsch, that they can go in and see what it is, because we do have some of these beautiful hidden treasures throughout the city of Memphis that, unless you're part of that congregation, you may not know exist.
Right, that's right. One thing I do want to mention, although it's a week past Elvis Week, that this week being Elvis Week, that one of the MCs who started this event as well was George Klein. He looked forward to it every year. He always would be asking, when is the barbecue? When is the barbecue? He was so excited to be a part of it. He's MC'd for over 25 years and was a member of ASBEE as well. So, and we've got anchormen, we got people from all over the community that are taking part in this. So it is truly a who's who that's going to be there.
Well, good luck. I know there are lots of details in the coming days to do, and I know that you have a lot to do to get prepared as far as Eric for your team. And Larry, you have the most serious job out there, is being in charge of the judges.
About 60-something judges will be there.
Yeah, that's a serious thing, I know. So thank you for being here with us today. I hate that we've run out of time. Thanks for listening to Sound Bites. We'll see you next week.